taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or evening, wherever in the world you're listening to, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for June 16th, 2018. My name is Ashenity, powered by Pure Hype as always, and what a week for hype it has been. It's, of course, E3 has just wrapped up, and we are going to be touching on the highlights, the lowlights, the summaries, everything that you want to talk about with regard to E3, so definitely put your questions and comments in the chat. Let us know what your favorite parts were about E3, any questions you might have, any comments you have, any opinions. That's what it's all about today. It's going to be a free-for-all about E3 stuff, but as always, I'm here with Cybsidian. How are you this morning, sir?
Hello, and you also forgot to say hello to our three people listening on the moon, so hello to them as well.
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, I know them.
Yeah.
They're cool.
Yeah, because they're not really in morning, afternoon, because the moon doesn't rotate that way. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, and if you're listening live this morning, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. As if I need to say that, the chat is already just going crazy. So I'm going to try to sort through that and say hello to everybody. But if I miss you, I apologize. We've just got a lot of messages already this morning. So yeah, we'll read and respond to as many of your questions and comments as we can throughout the podcast. Super chats and questions from sponsors are guaranteed to be read out loud on today's show, of course, as always, as long as they conform to basic standards of human decency. So,
or rather the YouTube algorithms.
Yes, absolutely. So let's see here. Woo. Who do we have here? Disappointed Fetus, Dancing on the Ashes. Good to see you guys. Adam Smith, hello. Yes, we had a great week. Hope you did as well. Thomas, Darth Raver. Hey, it's been a while, Darth. Welcome. Megan, great to see you. I believe Megan started tuning into us during E3. So, yeah, welcome to the podcast.
We love new people, yay!
And then Stack, Lago, and 88 Somi, hello. All right, 8 days, welcome. All right, everybody. So, first thing we're going to get out of the way right away. We need to talk about this Cyberpunk first-person thing.
Well, specifically in regards to the leak that we put out, or rather the confirmation that we had from an employee who is at the moment still a friend of mine, little upset with him.
There may have been a miscommunication.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So just to give the background on this, Of course, we do have a source that we are connected to who has been giving us information about
him or her.
Him or her, we don't actually know, but we have gotten some information about Cyberpunk 2077 through this source, most of which has been verified absolutely reliable, and so this was a very much a surprise to us, and yet we can see what happened here. But basically, we were anticipating a third-person game. Cyberpunk 2077 being a third-person game,
and first-person,
or at least giving us the choice, first-person.
A first-person or third-person. There was never any question that there was going to be both.
You're right. Absolutely.
As far as our contact, and as far as what they had put out originally on the news. And so when this rumor came around in a couple months ago that, oh my goodness, this game is going to be first-person only, I connected with our contact and I said, is this game going to be first person only? And they said, of course not. We've been rigging third person cameras for a while now. And I was like, oh, okay, so the game is going to have both. Yeah, the game's going to have both. Okay, great. Then the news came out, oh, it's first person only. And I'm sitting there going, I gotta contact him. So after contacting him or her again, I said in a very kind way, I said, pardon me, dear friend and colleague from a long time. How has thouest family been? I hope that all is well at the homestead. Please give my love to so and so and so and so. P.S. WTF happened with your bloody info? And they responded, it's both. There's first person gunplay and there's third person car driving. And I said, do you see how that information is required to make sense of first person and third person both being in the game? You see how there's a little bit of a problem there? And they said, oh, I guess that does come off as being quite complicated when it's read a certain way. So our leak was still good, but the way that we phrased it was, of course,
yeah, we misunderstood what that was actually.
We misunderstood what was being said, and we misled a fair number of people. And we made a video saying, no, this wasn't the thing. Now we've pulled that down, not because we don't want to admit that we're wrong, but that it comes off as being a little bit moronic now. And so we will readdress this. This is going to be a big topic because it is a fairly big topic. There's been like anything that's over like 2% of the population asking a question, seriously asking a question. That's a serious topic. So
yeah, and we should talk 5%, we should discuss 10%, that a little 20%. Bit. And actually, I'm going to bring up the poll that we did on our YouTube channel just a couple of days ago here. But there has been a lot of questions, concerns, backlash about this first-person only thing. So during the majority of the gameplay, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be first-person. And for some people don't like that, but it's you know, as a matter of preference. But for other people, there is actually a physiological reason why they're upset by this, and Cyb, that includes yourself.
Yeah, this includes myself. There's also people who just refuse to play their first-person games or third-person games because it's not their particular style of gaming. So we are going to talk about this full-on with the Mad Queen eventually, but we'll only briefly kind of touch it here. And the thing is the main thing is don't get down on people who are upset by this. Like, please don't get down on people who are upset by this, and people who are upset by this need to not start trashing the game either. The reason why this appears to be a bigger deal than, say, you know, why isn't there this outcry when it comes to Battlefield? Because Battlefield's never been a third-person game. Their studios never produced a third-person game. Same thing with DICE. Same thing with sorry, not DICE. Who am I thinking of? The guys who make all the other first-person shooters. You know, when a studio like Techland, who's known for their first-person games, continues to make first-person games for, you know, decades, and then if they were to suddenly change and say, we're working on a game that's third-person perspective only, and it's also a, you know, within the same genre of the games that they've done before, there's naturally, that's when you hear the backlash. Because if I come out as a car company and say, hey, we're making we're making sports cars, and then after years and years and years of making these amazing sports cars, and then I were to suddenly unveil a shipping truck, like a big 18-wheeler, and say, here's our newest car, which I know so many of you have already put money down to pre-order, and it's an 18-wheeler, there's bound to be some confusion, frustration, and outright anger at times. So don't.
And it might be the best shipping truck ever, but it's
it might be the best shipping truck
your
ever.
Fan base is not expecting that, and I think with CD
and
Projekt Red's
this is
track
the
record,
primary. Then this is the primary thing here is the track record.
But
so that's why it's a bit of a bigger deal right now. That's why more people are talking about it. Also, it's the fact that you've created an RPG that is very much within the genre of these modern kind of role-playing games that you know are like Skyrim and Fallout.
Right.
You know, why not have the dual camera option? Because
that does seem like an odd choice to not give people the choice. Now, I just want to clarify, we're not trashing on CD Projekt Red for this, and
Ash is very excited for this game.
I'm still super stoked. Like I don't have a problem. Like I don't get motion sick with first person perspective games. I certainly empathize with people that do, because there's some great first person perspective games out there. I've been playing through the Prey DLC, and it's a really interesting form of gameplay. I won't get into it too much right now, but I'm enjoying it. But I love Prey. I love the Dishonored series. I've really enjoyed Kingdom Come Deliverance, all first person only. And I have no doubt that I'm going to enjoy Cyberpunk 2077. I just hope that my friends who have issues with the first person perspective, because they get motion sick, I hope that a solution can be found, or that it's done in such a way that they can play. For example, like the Mad Queen can play. She can play some first person games, and I have heard that there are things that can be done with, if you have a high enough frame rate and a high enough field of view, that you can play certain like some people can play a first person game with a wide enough field of view and a high enough frame rate and not get motion sick. But if it's too restricted, then they get motion sick. Now, Saib, I don't know about you, if it's just kind of any first person games.
So we'll
dive into this more.
Mad Queen is currently on a plane, so we want to have this conversation with her because she actually saw it. Now, I have not seen the gameplay, so I cannot comment directly on the gameplay. But Mad Queen has seen it. Others have seen it, and by being able to see it, you can make an assumption on whether or not it'll be one of the types of games that are fine or not. For example, Overwatch is kind of okay. I can do a round or two of Overwatch and not get the seasickness that I get from, say, other games where it's like I can't do Dishonored and I really can't do Prey because it's like vomit comet, like right away. And the thing that messes it up, some people are like, well, why don't you just take Daraman or whatever it's called? So there's two things with that. One, that only works temporarily, and if you overdose on it, there's some really horrendous things that happen when you overdose on pretty much any medication. But Daraman or whatever it's called has got a really bad list of overdoses, and people overdose on that stuff all the time when they go on like cruise ships and they can't handle the motion and that kind of stuff. So that's not really good. But what also happens is it's not so much the motion sickness. I can get over motion sickness. That's easy. It's the associated migraine that comes with it for the next 3 days. So
and that's pretty brutal. You don't want to. Yeah, obviously you're not going to play a game if it's going to cause that to happen.
Yeah, and again, now why don't you hear about this more often? Well, because FPSs came to the rise on. They really came into their own as a mega industry on the consoles, and the consoles kind of already brought people out between those two things, because in consoles you have a TV that has a lower refresh rate than most monitors do, so that added to motion sickness right away. So people who are susceptible to it tend to steer clear of that to begin with, but again, it's like when you do get a console and you steer clear of that kind of stuff, and then you get used to playing one thing from one developer, and then suddenly they change their mind and they go in 180 degrees different, then suddenly you're kind of left, and that's why some people are really upset, because it feels like they were abandoned, as well as there is also a significant amount of people who are upset that, like, why am I customizing the character if I can't see the character? So all those kinds of questions, we're going to answer those. We're going to go really deep in them as soon as Mad Queen gets back, and we're going to really talk about that kind of stuff. As far as how or what's going to go on from here, I can guarantee you, after having spoken with some programmers and some modders, that modding this game to be third person is actually going to be really easy. Because unlike Borderlands, or unlike a handful of other games, they've built in a third-person camera shoulder camera, already into the game when you are driving shotgun and you pop out of the window and you're shooting.
I wonder if it's that easy.
And you're also using abilities. So it's basically what I spoke to somebody who's who works for some companies in the Poland area. And he says that basically, at this point, it's just a switch. So if they have the ability to find and access the switch, then then most of that stuff is going to be pretty easy. Now, what we run into is whether or not the player has been animated. If the player has not been animated, then we're going to run into a lot of issues. And if there's been some other technical shortcuts that help, frame rate issues by not loading things that you don't see, aka your face, or like clothing, then there's a big problem there. So, but we kind of don't think that that'll be an issue. So there is a lot of people who are looking to mod the game right away, and the Witcher games are pretty easy to mod, and there's a ton of mods. There's a Nexus page for them. So stuff like that, it's going to happen, just as Thomas the Train mods show up in Skyrim. So
Well,
there's a high likelihood that this will happen already. And beyond that, I mean, I'm sure that CDPR is kind of listening to this kind of stuff.
Well, the Mad Queen was telling me the kind of feedback they were looking for when she was in there seeing the demo, and they got this feedback form. What do you like? What do you don't like? They're looking for feedback on this.
And I suspect it's why we didn't. There's two reasons. One, I suspect that we didn't get to see gameplay as the general public, because the game was still. They said there was still some like placeholder animations and placeholder graphics in the game, which, if you show that to an average public, most of the average public are going to be okay with that. But there's going to be this small, like, 10 to 20% again, who are going to say, why is there a floating pink box bubble with a question mark on it or like a note on it? Why is that there? This game is terrible. And they're going to freak out because they don't understand how these things work. So you don't want that. But the other reason why I don't think we've seen the gameplay is because there was a lot of questions as to what you liked about the gameplay or what you didn't like about the gameplay. And there were some issues with stealth. And we remember that they've been hiring people who are good at stealth mechanics, and they've been hiring them like crazy. So this means that I think that the stealth mechanic is not exactly polished in the game yet. And because this is one of the complaints that a lot of the media who got to see the demo said, stealth didn't seem to work when the person tried it. Now, again, stealth doesn't work when you have somebody who's not good at stealth gameplay try to do it. So there, that's an issue.
That's one aspect, but
yeah,
still. But yeah, so the general impression we're getting is that they're very open to feedback and that they're listening. So who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, so
not gonna make any predictions here, but I mean, if it's that easy to switch it, to mod it into third person, I wonder, complete speculation, but I wonder if they'll even just do that as a core gameplay mechanic. They haven't given a release date yet, so I mean,
like what they've been saying multiple times is that they wanted to the main reason why they chose the first person is because they wanted to pull you into the action as far as like the story and the roleplay goes, and I can understand that. And walking around a city at a slow pace is not going to bother most people as far as motion sickness goes. So I can see them saying, maybe let's put in third person view or a mod for third person view into the game when it comes to combat, because that can kind of make sense sometimes too. So they're clearly looking at some stuff, and they've also been receiving feedback from a ton of people, and they said that they were a little shocked to see that a lot of people, and when I say a lot, the rough numbers is about like we'll touch on the numbers here on our own poll, but roughly speaking, I did a scan of a whole bunch of the bigger videos, and I pulled the comments from it was a little over 8,000 comments that I reviewed, and about 30% of them are negative on the concept of FPS only, that they're looking for at least some function to look at your own character. And the information about, well, there's third person in the cutscenes when you're talking to people, aka like, Mass Effect, that is incorrect. There is no third person in those scenes, with the exception of one scene where the guy pulls out your eye, and your eye is still on, and it's tracking you and it's sending that signal to your brain. So that kind of stuff, that was the only time that the people who were there said that they actually saw the player character. Outside of a menu or outside of getting in or out of a vehicle. So
interesting.
So that there seem like that might be problematic as well, because again, there's not a lot of people who enjoy that and this is where this is where I'm different than other people. When I play Skyrim, I actually go first person every time I talk to somebody. I never have the camera scrolled out when I'm talking to somebody unless I did so accidentally. I always go first person when I'm talking to a character because I want to see what the character is saying, and I want to see the face, and I want to see the details on the character that I'm speaking with. Now I play Skyrim exclusively third person, except when I'm doing, speaking with NPCs and also taking sniping shots with a bow. So, yeah, the Lago is asking, so even the cutscenes are first person only. It appears that the vast majority of the cutscenes for general communication with NPCs is first person only.
And there's a difference between a cutscene and dialogue in a lot of cases in games like this. Like you have, so there may be third person cutscenes, but that doesn't mean every dialogue scene. It's not like Fallout where every conversation you have, the camera cuts to third person, even if you're playing it in first person.
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions that we have on this, and we're going to reserve judgment or talking about the implications until we see the gameplay. We're going to talk about the generalized ideas and the concepts and stuff like that. For example, I mentioned this on Mad Queen's Discord, and I was shocked that I had to explain this. And I'm going to try and go really slow so that I don't lose anybody here. When a company makes a new IP, they do not transfer all of their player base to that new game. So if you have 100,000 people that will always buy your game, and you've been making 4 games, and you have 100,000 sales on every single game. If you were to make a new IP that is not related to those 4 that you've already put out, say that they're part of a series, your next game is not guaranteed to sell 100,000. You might only have 80,000 of those people buy a new product, which is why you need to constantly be bringing in new people to play the game. And CDPR has done this very well. But as a quick example, not everybody who plays Halo moved over and started to play Destiny when Bungie made Destiny. Not everybody who was a fan of the Halo series moved over with it when it went from Bungie over to Microsoft for the second time in a row. So that's a big thing to pay attention to. This is really important to remember, that you lose people when you change game types.
Right.
You lose a percentage of your audience.
Well, yeah, you have to win them. You have to win people over, and not everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody who's a fan of The Witcher is going to necessarily be a fan of Cyberpunk, even if they're fans of CDPR. Like,
yes, so
you have to win people back over. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to recruit new people. Now, the more of a shell shock, or maybe not, shell shock is maybe a bad term, like plunging into a pool, it's going to it's going to shock more people the more different that you make your game. So if you go from making a game based in a medieval setting, and then you move it's a new game from that medieval setting, say an RPG, and instead you make the next Plants vs. Zombies game, there's going to be a distinct large group that is going to go, well, I'm not interested in playing this game because I'm not really there here. I'm not really spending my time, doing other stuff. So, so there is that kind of subset, and the more different you make the game, the more people leave your initial thing. So you're wanting to recruit new customers as much as you can when you transfer from one game to another. It's why when we're doing advice for studios that we tell people, do not change your like, you have to be really careful. You have to know your audience. You have to know what you're going for. You have to be really aware of your market conditions. You have to be really, really aware of your loyalty base and your fan base. When you make a new game, that you keep a certain, and this doesn't go for publishers. This is studios, pretty much studios only. When you as a studio are making a new game and a new project, and suddenly it's 180 degrees different from the last game that you made, you will lose more. The more away from the previous game it is, the more likelihood that you're going to lose a lot of devoted followers who may not, they don't hate you, but they're just not interested in this new product. So
yeah,
this is where we run into this issue of, okay, how does CDPR go from this to the other thing without taking a major hit in their guaranteed sales? Because if they were to make a Witcher 4, they can guarantee that their sales are going to be X based off of what 1, 2, and 3 did, which they've done very well, and they've been growing at a constant rate. But if they lose 40% of their player base moving from the Witcher series to the Cyberpunk series, if they do not gain that 40% plus whatever other growth they've been wanting to see, say they have a standard, every time they release a new game, they gain 30% of their base. So each game, it goes up, they gain 30%, and then, the next game they gain another 30% on top of whatever they've gained from the last one. Am I losing anybody here? Is this still going?
No, I think you're explaining very well. Yeah.
Okay. So
they need to gain that back.
Yes, they need to gain that back. Otherwise, you run into the horrible situation, and this happened a lot in the last transition of the tech jump. So the tech jump, the last time we saw a major tech jump was the introduction of 3D graphics into video games. And a lot of studios who were really, really good, in fact, were some of the top studios in the world pumping out two-dimensional games, suddenly slammed into a wall when they started making three-dimensional games. Because sometimes they weren't that good, or sometimes they didn't translate, or sometimes their fan base just didn't move from the one game to the next game. And that's where they took this gigantic loss. They had a budget of, we spent, I'll make a rundown numbers really easy. We spent $10 million making our last game. Let's spend $10 million making the next big game. An example of this is like Interplay. Interplay was hit hard by this. Black Isle Studio was hit hard by this. There was a successful hit on this by BioWare. BioWare did a great job going from two-dimensional games, Baldur's Gate series, to this time where they just slammed into this wall of three-dimensional games, but they managed to tackle it and they scaled that wall with great ease. Mm-hmm. So they didn't hit the wall. They didn't slam into the wall. I should have said they scaled the wall quite well. And then they're on this higher plateau where they made Knights of the Old Republic. They made Neverwinter Nights. They made these amazing games utilizing that 3D engine. But not everything transfers or moves successfully.
And this is where it gets dangerous with
yes,
alienating even a small portion of the player base who was interested in Cyberpunk. Even alienating a small portion of them due to the first-person thing is dangerous. But like we said, CDPR they are looking for feedback. It looks like they are definitely listening. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this. And anyway, yes, Saib, thank you for an excellent explanation of that.
RPG has made in the chat here. RPG Titans made a really great example of this. Experimenting is good, and when you are making titles, if you're not experimenting enough, aka like Interplay tried to experiment, and that experimentation failed. BioWare started to experiment, and that experimentation has succeeded. Now we're looking at BioWare now, and they're experimenting with this Destiny clone, and a lot of people feel that this is not going to end well. At the same time, you have Bethesda that's experimenting suddenly with the Fallout series, and a lot of people are unhappy with that. So where where does the point in which we can, you know, as a community, how much experimentation is good? Because right now Bethesda's receiving a lot of hate for 76, and CDPR is experiencing a lot of frustration with this experimentation with the first person only. And so what's the difference? Because both of these studios have made these big new attempts to experiment with their current IP. And in the case of Bethesda, non-stop negative press reviews, and their fans have been saying, yes, these are legitimate questions. In the case of CDPR, you have a lot of the hardcore fans who are saying, don't question this is good. And you have this smaller number of people in the fan base going, but we're still concerned. And so where's the line? You know, where do we connect in? So this is the question, and I can't give you an answer on this because, I mean, as we see even with this current E3, that experimentation sometimes goes over well and sometimes it goes over poorly. Sometimes games are received really, really well in press reviews and press access, but then when you put them into the hands of the people are disgusted with the product and they're not happy with the product. Case in point, Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, right. Every time I saw a trailer, I was like, this is dope, man. This is hilarious. I'm going to play the crap out of this game. Then the game comes out, and after about 2 hours of playing, you're like, I'm done. There's nothing to do. I'm done. I'm sorry. I thought this was a great concept, but when it comes into actual playability, it kind of falls on its face a little bit. And so there's these questions that we have to answer as to, you know, as studios go, not as us as the gaming public.
Right.
Studios have to make these bets to see, you know, where they end up.
And any studio that could come up with an absolute answer, like a solid answer to that question, they would have about all the money in the world. I know because I've studied publishing to an extent, and book publishers specifically, and they said, you know, if there was a formula for knowing which books would sell, you know, we'd be the richest people in the world. Like, if we could figure that out. Obviously. So there's always a risk. There's always a risk.
We are working with a company right now that is publishing their first game. And this is a brand new studio. And we have been consulting, we have been their main consultants now for this project for, 3-4 months now? And it's a very it's a very strong learning. I'm saying this wrong. The rate at which you learn new stuff when you're trying as a new studio to put out a game is intense, and these guys and gals have been doing a great job. I think it's guys and a gal. They've been doing a great job in learning how to do this very first experience. And this is a game that is potentially going to grab a lot of attention. This is definitely, I mean, for a first studio, the gameplay that they've been able to create so far has been just astounding, correct?
From what I've seen, it looks fantastic, yes.
Yeah, it's super fantastic. And you guys, I swear, the majority of you guys are going to love this new game when it comes out, but it's like probably 2 years out now. So there's a lot of time and effort that gets put into it. And then also, as we've seen with kind of BioWare, the changes that you make going, oh, everybody wants to play Destiny clone. Let's spend 4 years making a Destiny clone. So how's that Destiny clone coming now that, you know, you're close to release? Well, yeah. Turns out nobody wants to play a Destiny clone anymore. Yeah. Oh my God. Everybody's playing this this Battle Royale thing. It's like, oh man, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. So at any rate, I hope that kind of sets some concepts, because the thing that troubles me is that I log in and I've been reading through these comments, not on our videos. I look at other people's videos, and the comments are just like, this is this great divide, and it's like if you're on one side of it, you're shelling the other side as hard as you can, because for some reason you think there's ground to be lost here, and and that's the troublesome thing that I want us to avoid. I don't want us to be angry or upset at this. Yes, I might not be able to play it, like I don't play Prey and I don't play Dishonored, but we don't not cover those games. We love those games. And I love Bethesda as a studio and as a publisher, and I have no interest in trashing their games because they make one game that I don't necessarily agree with. We are going to get a single player, story-centered, brand new experience in Starfield. I'm not sure if 76 is going to go off well. I may not enjoy 76 at all, but we're still going to cover it, and we're still going to like get into it because Fallout is something that we really like here on the channel. And by the way, we're going to have some amazing food stuff coming down the pipeline. We're working on that. I've been sitting on a lot of recipes and a lot of stuff that we wanted to do originally in Fallout 4, but it's just the interest had kind of died down. We're going to hit that. We're going to hit that hard for the release of this game, so it's going to be great. Next couple of months, we're going to have some amazing food ideas. I can't wait for you guys to see some of the stuff that I've come up with.
Fantastic. I want to get through some of these chat comments here. By the way, if you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, please join our Discord community. We've been having some great conversation there, some great things, people sharing videos, people like info about E3, people talking about stuff, the various opinions about stuff. I really love the community we're building there. There's, I've seen examples of people being supportive of each other when they're going through some crap and just, talking about all the things we love together. I love what's happening there, and I want to keep it going. So, yeah, please hit the link in the description below, join our Discord server, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. So, wow, let's see here. Holy crap, lots of comments to go through. And a lot of you understand what happened with the whole first-person thing. That is really good to see. A lot of comments saying not bothered by first-person perspective, and tons of comments about E3. So we should get into the E3 stuff right away here. But oh, good gravy, people! There's way too much for me to read here. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. So here, by the way, if you're curious about the results of our poll, we had 439 votes, so 439 responses. The question was, will you play Cyberpunk 2077 if first-person perspective is the only option? 53% said, yes, I prefer a first-person perspective. So about half said, yes, I prefer first-person. 39% said they would play it, although they prefer third-person perspective. 5% said, no, I absolutely don't like first-person perspective, so they wouldn't play the game because of first-person perspective for preference reasons. And 3% replied, no, I have a condition that prevents me from playing in first-person perspective. So these are not scientifically authoritative results, but we do have...
No, they're a real small snapshot.
Of our audience, or the people who have seen our poll, we have at least 8% that are saying, no, I'm not going to play this game because it's in first person. And then you have another 40%, 39% saying, I'd prefer it to be third person. So,
Jack, we're not suggesting that they try to make this game for everybody. You can never make a game for everybody. Whenever you make a game, you are... if you want to make a game for everybody, not even Pong in its most basic format is for everybody. So we're not suggesting that they force a change. All we're doing is we're pointing out the and this is really important. We're not saying that we think that CDPR is making a mistake here. We're saying that these are the conditions that they have gone through to try and make the best decision for whatever game they're putting out. And when you make a new game as a studio that's not the same as your last game you put out, that naturally, and we're saying this, that there's a natural loss of some of your fan base as far as buying that particular project. Not a permanent loss of your fan base, just a loss of your buying interactions when it comes to your fan base on one particular title.
Mm-hmm.
If you make two games, one's a shooter and one's an RTS, naturally you're going to have a different fan base for both of those games. There's some crossover for sure, and the crossover might be 80% or 50%, but there is a crossover that of certain people who do not play certain types of games. That's all we're saying that they've had to deal with, and therefore that we're encouraging the community to not take this decision to go FPS as a negative decision. We're not saying that it is a negative decision and that people should stop supporting CDPR or not even be interested in Cyberpunk or the genre itself. Because the other thing that we are getting out of this, that they've stated many times, is that we're getting a new pen and paper game. So we're getting a new updated pen and paper game. Mike Pondsmith has talked about this a lot. So even if you're not, a fan of the FPS, but you're still a fan of Cyberpunk, this is still something to be excited for, because we're finally getting a new updated pen and paper game that you're going to be able to play with your friends. And if you're like my brothers, they get together and they play pen and paper games at least once a week. So this is really, really good overall. And we're not saying that we're not trying to be negative on CDPR. We're just giving the stats and the data that they have to deal with when creating a new game and a new genre. That's all we're doing. We're not harping on them for making this decision. Of course they have to make this decision, because otherwise you will be stuck making, whatever games you like. Imagine if BioWare never took, a change. If they've been making Baldur's Gate games, two-dimensional Baldur's Gate games forever. Like, how much growth as a company would they have had? So we're not saying this is a bad choice. We're just giving hopefully the ability so that as consumers we can understand where you are at, and then you can understand where other consumers are at, and also where the company itself is at when they're forced to make decisions.
No,
like
exactly. Good point. Like every decision, good or bad, has consequences, and it's good to be aware of what some of those consequences might be for the user base. Casual Skellerman points out that the first person perspective is rooted stylistically. For example, when you get a specific upgrade, you see your ammo count on your gun. That kind of a thing would be that wouldn't work as well in third person. I mean, there is a point there. I think there are some restrictions in terms of maybe porting it over to third person. But I don't know. Like when I think about a game that I play first person, like Fallout 4, I play it in first person perspective, but can be played in third person perspective. It seems like having the option is good. And if you want to really be immersed and be first person and see the ammo count on your gun, as opposed to being in third person and having the ammo count on your HUD, I think having that choice is better than being restricted to one point of view. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree. Marion, I'm fine with first person, but still kind of wish it had third person perspective. Even though I would probably play it first person, I agree with you. I think having that option for the people who want third person, then I hope that, I'd like to have... options are good in games. That's my opinion on it. Having as many options as possible is good. RPG Titan, we will definitely talk about Fallout 76 in just a few minutes here. Notional says it would be good to make a simple guide on how to set up a game to combat simulation sickness. You know what? That is a fantastic idea. We might have to do some research and see if we can do that. As you point out, it won't help everyone, but might help some people. Megan, don't apologize for all the comments. We love them. We love the live chat comments coming through. I apologize for earlier. I just got a little frazzled because I had my chat window frozen at a specific point where I was going to start reading through comments. And so I go to look at it and start scrolling through, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and things just kept flashing past, and so I wasn't able to read the comments, and so I'm just super surprised by how much chat is happening today. But it's great. Don't apologize, and don't stop the conversation. We love it. Lago, how hard would it be to resolve the motion sickness problem in the end for CDPR? I don't know, but if anybody has the resources to do it, I'm sure they do. Like if they put some research into it and say, what can we do to keep it first person but combat the motion sickness? I mean, that would be a fantastic thing for them to do as well.
Well, FOV, your field of view is your biggest proponent in that. The more narrow that you have it, the worse it gets. So they might just find a way to increase it, or do even a bit of a wraparound can sometimes really help. So yeah, there's tons and tons of things that they can quite possibly do. Yeah, so it's really it's interesting to see where it's at. So and as far as, we're not even giving criticism on the idea. I need people to understand this. I'm not criticizing their choice right now because I don't have the data in which to criticize the choice, because I haven't seen the gameplay. I haven't seen how it affects the game. There has been some criticism from some of the press people who have said that this kind of aspect fell a little dry, or that kind of aspect seemed a little bit repetitive. I'm sure these are the things that they're trying to fix, and that also comes into effect with, like, if you were to do a demo, and what I was saying, I popped this into Discord late yesterday, is that the demo was different. It was not the same demo each time. It was different every single time because there was a guy playing it who approached situations differently. So there were two people who were calling each other liars, because one guy says he didn't hack the door, he blew through it, and the other was like, no, the opposite. And there was this back and forth going. I don't think it was a door. I think it was like a stealth, like he tried to snipe somebody, and like the guy didn't snipe somebody. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. No, he did it in both. In one he tried to and he succeeded. In the other one he tried to and he failed. So that's what I mean, is like, because we don't have that information enough, we're not criticizing this at all. We're simply putting it into context so that everybody can understand where everybody is sitting with the concept in general. So that's all we're saying. So don't please don't assume that we're saying that this is a shitty game, because we're not saying that this is a shitty game. No,
absolutely. I'm still, the gameplay, like the trailer looked fantastic. I've heard the gameplay is amazing. I'm definitely absolutely stoked for it still. Any of you, Doom 2 EXE, any of you guys play the original Deus Ex? I have. It's one of my favorite games in the entire universe. Unfortunately, the gameplay, the controls and stuff are really dated on it. Like it didn't age well in terms of, like, you have to get used to like like 90s style first person shooter, like, where they'd set up WASD, but the A and the D would make you turn right and left instead of strafing right and left, that kind of thing. But you can fix that by changing your controls up. But anyway, it's one of my favorite games ever, and yes, it is a very cyberpunk theme. So, let's see here. Notional says, I've played every single Deus Ex game but the original. That's too bad. The original is fantastic. Again,
the original is so hard to get through. Like, it's so old.
It is, like, it didn't age well graphics wise and controls, but the actual story and atmosphere of it, like the Tokyo levels, oh man, love them. Absolutely love them. All right, we should move on to, let's discuss and recap and give opinions about E3 and all of the various press conferences. By the way, put in the chat, tell us right now which press conference won E3. We had 9 major press conferences: EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Devolver Digital, Square Enix, Ubisoft, the PC Gaming Show, and Sony. Which one won? Tell us which one won first place in your mind and heart. Which was your favorite? And we're just going to go through one by one, talk about little bits of what we liked, the highlights, the lowlights, etc. So we'll start with the train wreck that was EA.
Yeah, vote on who won the press conferences. I wanna see what everybody is thinking.
Mm-hmm. Thomas says best in moment Xbox hack. Yes, I agree. The way CD Projekt Red announced their trailer, that was fantastic.
So EA, I had this strong feeling, and like, I'm a data analyst. My job is to look at data, look at information, and then make assessments. In my day job, this assessment is the difference between life and death. I have a very, very stressful day job. My secondary day job, I make decisions for people in the business world when it comes to video games that, again, makes the difference between a company losing out substantially or not. One of my best jobs is I gave advice. I'm one of these people that went in and said, move your release date back 6 months, and that did not go over well. But the sales pre the pushback were expected to cap out around like 50,000, and the sales that we had after the pushback ended up hitting over 1 million. So the difference between that was the fact that the creator basically retired on the money that he made from the game versus him having made a small game, barely recovered his expenses, and then were able to like feed himself for the next year for the next project. So this is the stuff that I do on a daily basis. And when I saw what EA did in that press conference, I have this sinking feeling in the back of my head that I think they're going down. I think this is the beginning of the end for EA, because they didn't learn from last year, and they didn't learn from the year before that. They didn't learn from this whole controversy from this year. All they have is sports. All they have is their sport and their racing game IPs. That's all they have. They're not going to get a new deal on the Star Wars games. They're really not, because again, they didn't even have a new Star Wars thing to show off. They had an interview with a guy about the new Star Wars stuff that they're working on.
Oh, so much cringe.
Which was cringy.
In like a casual interview in the front row of the audience. Like, hey, what are we working on for Star Wars stuff? Oh, we've got this game. It's going to be great. See you in 2 years. It's like, why did you even include that?
Doom 2 EXE, you bring up a really great point here in the comment, is that if EA were to die, nobody would care. Now, what's really important here is that this is interesting. EA has received the Worst Company in America award multiple times. It wasn't until the most recent one that they started to take it seriously. And so this strikes at the heart of what is wrong with EA. EA does not take this stuff seriously. When they mess up, they don't take it seriously. They think that because of the titles that they hold, because of the deals that they have with the NFL and the soccer leagues and all this stuff, that they're sitting on an unlimited pit of money, and they just keep on bringing it up. And I don't think they realize that there's a potential that they can run out of fuel, that they can run out of the ability to mine it, that they can run out of the mine itself can run dry. They don't comprehend that because again, a company that looks at, sir, we've gotten the Worst Company in America award for 4 years, and they don't say, well, this is a problem, we need to seriously address this. the fact that they laugh this off and go, ah, well, we're still making money. Ha ha ha. It's
like that Bond villain. The guy's like,
it's
I'm invincible, and then he dies
they're-
literally that second.
their expenditures keep going up, and I keep telling people, like, there's some people who, when I do this work, there's this one company that I saw go under, and the owner said, there's no way I can go under. I've got $10 million in cash in the bank. I have $30 million worth of equipment in the field. There's no way I can go bankrupt.
That's a dangerous
lost
attitude.
He lost 50% of his equipment in an accident, and the other half needed and it needed to be replaced in order for him to keep working. Well, it was $15 million of equipment that he lost. He only had $10 million in the bank. He had to take a loan for $5 million, and he failed his next project. Where does that put his $40 million company? $20 million in the red.
Yep.
You think he can? You think how long can he operate on that? It's the same thing with EA. Big businesses can go under just as fast and sometimes faster than small businesses, because with a small business you might be able to keep it going for a long time, based on savings or being able to like scrimp together a modest income. But when you're a big company and you have $20 million worth of expenses every single day, the thing that makes you go bankrupt is when you're only pulling in $19 million a day.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens,
death by 1,000 cuts. It happens. Like you get 1 million paper cuts on your body, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like that. One paper cut's like, oh, not a big deal. Whatever.
And I do not say this in any way, shape, or form. I do not say this with glee, because we have friends that work at BioWare. We have contacts that work at BioWare.
We do not want, and we're concerned. There's a lot of concern in the chat about BioWare, and yeah, we're very concerned. There's a studio we love, and we are personally connected with people who are there. So
and it's rough, because I don't know if you know this, but BioWare's head facility is based out of this place called Edmonton, Alberta. And Edmonton, Alberta is not known for having lots of video game companies there. So it's also a Canadian company. So the people that are there, if they suddenly lose their job, there's like 500 people who have to find a new job in an industry that doesn't have any other places that they can apply at in Edmonton. They have to go.
You're looking at them relocating or finding a new career.
Yeah, so relocating or finding a new career. These are not good options for these people.
And this is where it comes down to, EA's business practices. It's not just, loot, microtransactions and, trying to squeeze the gamer. They're destroying people's careers.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's disgusting. And they don't even seem to care. How many studios have they purchased and then just wrung the life out of, or as somebody was just saying in the chat, they're like a vampire. There's just, Doom EXE was saying that. It's sucking the life out of these companies. And then they just can the companies. And then the people, well, what do? We're talking about real people who have jobs and careers, kids to take care of, who need food and piano lessons. And these people are now either having to scramble to find another job or move. Like, this has real life implications for a lot of people. It's not just they're producing crappy video games or have bad business practices. They're literally putting people out of work, and I despise what they're doing for that reason. And I'm trying to not get really worked up, but I can't imagine being in that position. So we're very concerned for the people at BioWare. For that very reason.
And the economy in Canada is also not doing great at the moment. There's a lot of problems with that. So if they were to go down this year or next year, pretty much every single person is going to have to relocate to either Europe or to America, and that's not an easy thing to do. So that's I mean, it's much better for the weather. I don't know if you guys heard, but Edmonton is apparently like an icebox for 50% of the year. So at any rate, I mean, it certainly lowers the cost on cooling during the wintertime. So
Yeah, but then you have to be running your furnace all the time. Let's talk about the one bright spot out of the EA press conference. Was their couple of indie titles, and I think it's a shame that these two games are under the EA label. But Unravel 2 is absolutely delightful. I love this game, and I'm putting out a full walkthrough for it. But also, Sea of Solitude was an interesting looking one that is not out yet. I can't remember. Oh yeah, it comes out early 2019, and that one looks like that's one I'll be keeping my eye on. It looks really interesting. But here's the thing: these two games are from indie developers that are being published under the EA label. They're not EA titles, so go figure. And please do not, if anybody from those studios happens to be listening, do not let EA buy your studio.
yeah.
And we need to talk about Anthem. So we got the release date, February 22nd, 2019.
Another winter release.
Yeah, so...
Great. This is going to go over so well. So Anthem, there's a couple big problems with Anthem that a lot of people are noticing. Is that it's really, really, really basically just a clone of Destiny. That the experiences are extremely tunneled, meaning that when you go out to do a mission, you start at one point and you move to the end. Kind of like Warframe in that sense, where it's like, you start at point A, you work to point B, end of the mission. That's great, but that's not new. There's a lot of games that do well. Warframe does pretty well on that, but that's not new. That's not something that is at this point, that's like a 5-6 year old mechanic that people are clearly not interested in playing. The other big problem is the character customization is so small. It's so small. You're basically changing like a handful of like face plates and like a little bit of a shoulder decoration for your javelin that they call it, these mechs. Apparently we're all the same person when we go to do the story missions. This is unconfirmed, so take that with a grain of salt. I repeat, take that with a grain of salt. I've heard that there's no character customization and that we're playing the same story of the same person, which again, they tried this in Destiny 2 and it failed horribly. It failed horrendously. So I don't know what they're thinking. You can't get together in the story side of the world, in the city. You can't get together and hang out with other Javelin pilots. You are the quote unquote only Javelin pilot. So,
well, how are there 4?
I don't know. I don't know what they're this. So again, grain of salt, unconfirmed. But if this is the case, this is a big This is a big issue here, and I'm very, very concerned because all of this stuff has been tried before, and unless you have an existing audience who are dedicated players, you are not going to get new players signing up for this stuff, and you're not going to get the existing players who are already committed to another title to move over to your title, especially when it costs a lot of money. Like,
absolutely, and we're definitely not running out to pre-order it. I mean, we're not big on pre-ordering anyway, but I say that just to say, we're concerned about this title, and we're concerned about the studio.
Yeah.
So let's talk about let's move on to happier things. Let's talk about Xbox, and this is the one that most people are saying won the convention. This one is the one that was most people's favorite. This one won E3. So we got to see our first glimpse of Fallout 76 at the Xbox convention, which was an interesting way of doing it. Todd Howard himself showed up and brought us a trailer and some info about Fallout 76. Now we're going to talk more about that in a bit here. But and of course it capped off and ended with the Cyberpunk 2077 surprise in quotes trailer, because it looked like they were wrapping up and suddenly they got hacked, and the red lights came on, and
absolutely brilliant.
It was wonderful, and I was totally expecting it, but it was still great, and the Mad Queen cried. So highlights for you, Saib?
So this was a really good. This was really good. I think that Microsoft has been refocusing their attention. That they've been understanding that people don't buy game consoles to watch Netflix. People buy game consoles to play games. Shocker that it took them so long to figure this out. But they have figured this out. And remember when we were talking earlier in the year, we had been talking for a while about the fact that Microsoft had this enormous war chest, and they were looking at buying out a ton of studios. Yeah. And one of the things that they were potentially going to do is potentially going to buy out EA. And I heard a rumor that the first thing that they were going to do when they bought out EA was can everybody at the top. So that would have been awesome. However, when they rolled out the fact that they had recruited and bought a lot of studios, given them a lot of money, and said, just make good games.
And they seem to be letting them retain a lot of creative control.
Mm-hmm. This is a great sign, a really, really great sign. So we've got an enormous positive feedback on this. This is we're moving in a great direction here with this. So yeah, it's this is looking really, really good for Microsoft. They have certainly been trying hard, and where this goes from here, we'll see. A lot of great titles, a lot of great potential. They're bringing back Gears. They're bringing back focus on some. This was the most interesting thing to me, is that they've gone out and gotten a ton of Japanese studios to start working on RPGs, which is like, dude, about time. Like, seriously, I have been wanting to play good. Like, that's the reason why I stopped playing on the Xbox, was because they didn't have any good RPGs. All of their RPGs were better played on the PC. So the fact that they've gone out of their way to do that, and the fact that they're just motoring along in these games. Yes, this year may not be the year for Microsoft, but if they keep up this pressure, if they keep up this investment, yeah, Sea of Thieves and State of Decay were not great, but the fact that they're still free if you're in that program, that's good. And if they continue to pump out good content, if they continue to try, that Sea of Thieves trailer was really good. Again, it's like, it makes me want to play it, but then I play it and I'm like, there's nothing to do here. But
hopefully we'll see. Our intern Curie is probably going to jump into that and let us know how much of it, how much more content there is. So we'll definitely bring you information on that when we have it. We saw
that
so
commercial
many.
Was so good. All this darkness is coming. Oh, you just wanted to know how much you could get for this. Well, okay, here's 50 silver. It's like brilliant.
That was fun.
I absolutely love it. But my goodness, like, they're really moving in a good direction here. People say that Sony won it. I think Microsoft won it. Sony lost it only because of presentation. The way they presented their stuff was like,
they had decent, like, what they showed of the games was decent, but yeah, presentation, it was really weird. But yeah, we saw so many games at the Xbox convention. Metro Exodus, of course, Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, we saw Kingdom Hearts 3 in we saw like 3-4 different trailers for it throughout the.
And it's the fact that it's coming out to Microsoft is a big thing. I think we're finally going to get this game on the PC soon as well. They haven't announced it yet, but my money's on it, because again, it's like, so Kingdom Hearts is this thing that I know a lot of adults now who played it as kids, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing ever, and they just absolutely love this game, but they don't own a PlayStation anymore. So how are you going to get around? How are you going to move around that and connect in with that? it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting. So
yes, Jack Sekiro did look promising. We also saw, Forza Horizon 4. Kiri was definitely interested in that one. Open world multiplayer racing game. We got our first glimpse at the Division 2. Was it the first? It doesn't matter. We saw.
It's
the first major gameplay thing of Division 2 there, and then we got our first look at Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Tunic still looks adorable. We saw that at E3 last year, and I'm definitely gonna get that game for Curie to stream as soon as it comes out. Jump Force, a big anime mashup title. Just Cause 4, which looks amazing, not gonna lie. Gears of War 5, and of course Cyberpunk 2077. So much at the Xbox convention. I agree. I think Xbox won.
Yeah. They're really stretching out to work with developers, and this is a good sign.
Now let's talk about Bethesda. Now Bethesda's was disappointing. We love Bethesda here. We love their games. We love Skyrim. We love.
I was not disappointed with it.
You were not. I was. I was disappointed with the cringe factor. So I guess this comes down to presentation as well. Like.
Yeah.
I
think that it's hilarious that they were able to laugh at themselves. The music, the cringe, it's annoying, it's dumb, it's silly. I'm really not interested in Rage. I'm really not. It just comes off as a game that I don't want to play. And this coming from the fact that I played the first one and I was disgusted with the first one. So I still haven't been honestly, they should have started with a new IP rather than resurrecting this old one, because I have so much of a bad taste in my mouth from the first Rage that I'm not going to play the new Rage based on how bad of a taste I still have in my mouth. It's just it's that much that I can't even put it aside for I can't even remove it for the sake of just reviewing it. I might be able to. If I get a free copy, yes, I'll do a review, but I'm not going to finish the game because from what I saw, it's not great. Alt Cunningham, hello, nice to see you. And yes, JK_WIP. Yes, this is important to note, guys. This is really important to note. So yeah, I'm probably not going to finish Rage. I'm probably not going to finish it. I'm probably not even going to play it. However, everything else, I was all the little stuff that they have to put out. Sure, fine, whatever. They're really pushing They're really pushing what they're doing with mobile games. Great, awesome. Love that they're pushing those boundaries. Am I really excited for it? I'm moderately excited to see how Blades works. I think that there's a chance that it might be really good, and if that's so, great. If not, then no.
It seems like it could be, it looked interesting, but to be able to have the reaction times that you need, I guess they've probably modified the combat to accommodate that. But to have the reaction times you need, playing it one-handed on your phone, I don't know. I'd have to try it for myself, and I probably will. But then I did like that by swiping you can control the direction of your strike and that kind of a thing. That's a new aspect that I thought was really, really neat about it.
Aside from that, and I'm going to toot my own horn. We did call that there was a new Fallout game in the works. We said this last year. There was some confusion. Apparently, some people thought I said that there wasn't going to be a new Fallout game. No, what I meant was that there's not going to be Fallout 5 out this year. That's what I meant, and I wish I had communicated that a little bit better. But no, we had been for over a year. We've been saying that we're going to be getting a new Fallout Light game. No inside sources. Bethesda's really hard to get inside sources on. It was just by looking at the markets and looking at probabilities and stuff like that. And so last year we were expecting to see it. This year,
we
came out. We saw it.
It's there.
So Fallout 76,
even though it's massive, like Fallout 76 is going to be a massive
absolutely
game
massive.
world. it's not going to be a full Fallout game like you expect from Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or New Vegas, that kind of a full immersive RPG. It's an online game. It's a lighter title in that respect.
Yeah. So basically with this game, there's no NPCs, which kind of sucks. Yes, Jack. There's no NPCs. It's really problematic. It's so problematic that there's no NPCs. This is not good, to say the least. As far as the game itself, we're getting word that it seems to be really decent. That it plays well, and in this beta we can make our voices heard. And I think Bethesda shows that they, at least for the most part, they listen to their audience.
Oh, and on this note, shout out to our friend Michael, Legacy Killer HD. Don't be fooled by, there are some scams going around. There are some scams going around about, hey, get a free Fallout 76 beta key. These are scams. You go to the websites that they're trying to get you to click on. You're going to get viruses and crap. Don't do this. The only way to get a beta key is to pre-order the game, and you'll get a legit beta key when the beta starts, I guess.
And do not pre-order the game until you know when the beta is coming out. Right now they have not put a date on it. They're not going to be limiting beta access. This is going to be as many people pre-order the game is as many people that are going to get into the beta. Now, how the beta works or how successful it is, if you're not used to this kind of stuff, don't avoid it. It will leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Megan,
if you're
Megan, please join our Discord and DM us. I'd like to talk to you about that. Today.
Yes. We've been. So, as far as the game goes, I feel that they have some great directions, some great movement that we're gonna see. I'm really excited to see what we get out of this game. It's I think there's some great potential. If all we get is basically a Minecraft / Rust game, then fine. At most, this game has delayed Starfield by maybe a year. So maybe you could argue 2 years, but I kind of doubt that. I think primarily we'll have less than a year.
I would have preferred to see Starfield, but we're going to give Fallout 76 a chance and see.
I do have reason to believe that I think Starfield is going to be there's a good chance that it might be a next gen console game. It could also be a dual console gen game. That it's a really good idea if the IP does well. So this is going to be really interesting, and I'm very excited to get my hands on it. But I think overall, this what we're seeing in the direction that Bethesda's moving in here is they're trying some new stuff. I have a little bit of trepidation on the fact that we seem to be losing a lot of roleplay elements from big roleplay studios. The fact that we don't have a good roleplay game coming from BioWare sucks. The fact that we don't have a good role-playing game coming from Bethesda this year sucks. Is there some trepidation that maybe some of the roleplay element, the really heavy roleplay element that we love to see, might be a little bit lacking from a Cyberpunk that's basically an FPS shooter? That's a lot of concerns that a lot of people have been raising. And that's the only thing that makes me worry about that, basically.
Right.
But it's across the board. This is not no single studio is saying, hey, we're getting rid of RPGs because they don't work. Overall, we're seeing a general loss of real RPGs, and this really concerns me because RPGs are the heart of gaming. I think if you don't have them, then I think we're going to lose. But at the same time, we have Larian Studios making some amazing roleplay games. We have Obsidian pumping out amazing, going back to their roots more and more and more, making new RPGs. we haven't seen a lot of really great RPGs this year. We see a lot of like light RPGs, right? And by heavy RPGs, I mean like real character customization, taking things that put you at a disadvantage in one way but give you an advantage in the other. And for this, I think Bethesda is onto something, because they are introducing traits and they're introducing negative stats and stuff like that come with bonuses in other ways in 76. So we'll see where it goes. I'm a little worried, but I think overall, I think it's just the way that everybody's. It's the way the winds are pushing right now, and I hope that in a few years, which I believe we will have a studio come out with an amazing RPG game, and it probably will be Bethesda. So worried, but not 100% worried. So we'll see.
Boldman Win says, "Are those mutants or just West Virginian cousins?" leave that to you two to imagine. All right, so we're running short on time. Let's rocket through these next ones.
Oh my, yes, we are.
Square Enix. Square Enix had a very streamlined and concise show. It was basically just a series of trailers with a couple of pre-recorded messages from execs and stuff like that, and developers. I really enjoyed it. It was early in the morning, so I just kind of sat back with my coffee and really enjoyed the show. It was pretty laid back and low key. Had a few of you in chat with us. It was great. It was it didn't need that massive stage presence, and I think it's good that they didn't try to do that massive stage presence like the Bethesda show, or there would have been a lot of cringe as well. But because they did it in a smaller format, just said, hey, here's our trailers. Somebody said it was a low risk, low reward format.
Yes, yeah, it definitely was.
But it was good to see what they're working on. Obviously, we got gameplay for the Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which looks really amazing. Although, if I had to choose between that and The Last of Us 2, I don't know. Last of Us 2 might take it, but Shadow of the Tomb Raider does look really good. We saw Captain Spirit, which is a free game coming June 26th, and that's from the it's set in the Life is Strange universe, and so I'm guessing this is probably a promo for the next Life is Strange game. But yeah, free game that's going to be coming out about this kid who has a very vivid imagination. When I saw the first start of the trailer, the first time I saw the Captain Spirit trailer, I thought we were getting a Commander Keen game. Like a
I know. Oh man, I have been dying for a Commander Keen game forever.
A full
but
3D,
you know what? You know what's cool? This year we saw Commander Keen's mom. Oh my goodness.
We did. So now I got to go into that a little bit, but yeah. So the new Wolfenstein game, of course, centers around BJ's children, his twin daughters, and presumably one of them would be the mother of Commander Keen, unless BJ had any other children that we're not aware of.
So we know for a fact now at this point that one of those characters will definitely live through the game. So that's great. The downside to that is that we know that only one of those characters needs to survive through the game. Dun dun dun. No? Okay, never mind.
No, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. We know at least one of them survives. Will the other one? Good question. All right, back to Square Enix, though. So we saw trailers for Dragon Quest XI, not Dragon Quest II. Good old Walmart leak put out Dragon Quest II. We're like, is it going to be a remake, really? Like, what? Just Cause 4 looks fantastic. The sandbox world with all the destruction and stuff, I mean, it looks great. That's coming in December. The Quiet Man was a game that we don't know a lot about, but looked interesting. Kingdom Hearts, we saw more about Kingdom Hearts 3, and then a game called Babylon Falls. So, yeah, some interesting stuff. I'd recommend going and watching through those trailers and see what you think of the lineup from Square Enix. Again, low risk, low reward, but it was good nonetheless.
Yeah.
All right, what was next? We forgot Devolver Digital. So Devolver Digital had a very
love them.
It was a very, very entertaining press conference, very bloody and gory, but very, like, all staged, obviously. They only showed about 3 games, and I can't even really remember.
They're such a small studio.
But they're not a studio; they're a publisher.
One's the shooting guy, the guy
doing the shooting, jumping all around.
Sorry, they represent small studios. They're not. They don't.
I love Devolver Digital. I like when I see Devolver Digital's label on a game and they publish indie games. I always that's a good thing for me. I've loved a lot of games from Devolver Digital in the past because yes, they publish indie titles. But yeah, their press conference was just weird. It was really funny, but it was like, what are we watching exactly? All right, but then let's talk about the PC gaming show next.
100%.
Let's talk about the PC gaming show, and then we'll wrap up with Ubisoft and Sony. So PC gaming show, I unfortunately missed most of it, but what were your impressions there?
I wish Steam would get involved. I really do. I really wish that Steam would get off their butts and show up, throw some money in, and make it worth it. It's their biggest. It's their lifeblood. And yes, there's a lot of Sony would if they could would remove everybody the ability to play games on PC if they could. 100%. Microsoft not so much, but there are people and companies out there who despise PC players as a whole and who do not release any of their games to PC because of money or prejudice or I mean, who knows? Who knows why there's some developers who spit on the concept of releasing their games onto the to the PC platform. Could it be because of the whole master race thing? I doubt it, because the games are created on PCs. Again, I do not understand the hate that some studios and some game creators give PC gamers. Like, why the hate? Why the disgust? And why from so much of the audience that plays on consoles? Why the? I don't know. I don't understand. It's annoying. However, the showcase itself was pretty smooth. Very little cringe. When they did have a couple of funny things happen, the host recovered from it very, very well.
He's really good. I remember he's the same guy who hosted last year, and he's really
a good
That,
host.
so I'm glad they brought him
hammers
back.
things. Yeah, he hammers things pretty quickly. He has straight and to the point questions, and the fact that they handle it so fast and so smooth, it's good. It's a nice break from the bizarrities that you get from Ubisoft, EA, and Sony this year, and some of the cringe factor from Microsoft. But yeah, it was a good show. They didn't show anything major. Like I said, again, I don't think you're going to get that until people actually start showing up and doing it right. But for what it was, for what they had, it was good. It was good. I'm happy to see that PC gaming is alive and well. It is, after all, the biggest, most played format in the world, and it will continue to be so long as you are able to buy a computer and play games on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ubisoft. Ubisoft, I mean, they came out of the gate with a bang with a dance number, the musical dance number that was a little cringy, but also
got us a ban on.
I don't know if it was that or one of the other music, but we got knocked off the air by something that got a copyright, not a strike, but like a copyright claim. Anyway, YouTube fixed that right away, so obviously we're able to stream now. So that would have been bad, but saw some interesting things. We saw Star Fox, of all things. That was a surprise to actually see Star Fox.
A surprise. It was also a bit of a sellout, but surprise. Sure. That game is. I don't like I like the concept of the game. I don't like the money grubbing side of the game. Hey, buy 1,500 different $20 each characters to progress in the game.
So we saw we saw a massive trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Wish we'd seen some gameplay. Skull and Bones, we saw a trailer and some gameplay for. Now this is going to be another open world pirate game, but on a more serious take than Sea of Thieves. I don't know if I'm going to get into it or not. It looks...
Drop my cup. Sorry.
Slabs having issues. I had the same issue with some of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It's hard for me to cheer for pirates as protagonists. I don't know.
It's so bad when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, just overall, it's like, hey, we sunk a ship full of like, almost 100 men and hundreds of pounds of goods.
Oh, but they worked for a greedy corporation. It's kind of like the whole the BioWare thing we were talking about. It's like
maybe. I guess if maybe, they weren't like Portugal and England and France and all that. Maybe if they were just like, EA flags, then yes, I'd be okay.
There we go. Reskin it. But then if it was like the EA trading company and the ship was labeled BioWare, I'd still have issues. So
I did not see any gameplay that hinted that we have control over a player character, like a single person that we can walk around on the ship, or that we can do stuff at the island with. I don't know. Maybe I didn't pay attention enough, but I hope that they don't forget about that. I really hope that they don't forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then of course we saw a lot about the Division 2, and free version of For Honor that I think is still available if you're quick, and then Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We saw some gameplay for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Looks like a reskin of Assassin's Creed Origins, but if you really enjoyed Origins, you'll probably enjoy Odyssey. But it looked pretty much exactly the same, just different time period, different look to the game. But gameplay-wise, it looked exactly the same.
Yeah. So we really should wrap this up.
Yeah. So okay, let's get through Sony, and then we'll.
I'd love to talk about Nintendo, but every time we talk about any of their games, this sudden loud beeping noise happens that bleeps out everything that we're trying to say. So
men in suits show up at my door. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But
there's a bus sitting outside my house that has like 10 people in it, all wearing like Nintendo gear and swag, and they're just staring at me, and there's I think it's a lawyer standing with a stack of paperwork, just standing outside there. So yeah, looks like they still have those.
It's me. Here's a subpoena. All right, so yeah, sorry, that was bad. Wow. All right, the Sony was weird again. Like the whole thing starting off in the church, with the guy playing the banjo. I mean, he wasn't bad at the banjo, but then it became a little bit clear when they got into the promo for The Last of Us Part 2, and you heard that same song in the background. You saw what they were going for. I just feel like they didn't really pull it off very well. 'Cause that was a long banjo solo.
It really was. I kept expecting something to like happen. Like people to run in and start beating him up, or it is Last of Us, so maybe some zombies to come in but nope, he just played a banjo song.
And then they moved. They had the entire audience get up and move to a different location. That was.
Well, that was the thing. It's like they spent like $1 million building that place. The guy played a single song, and then they moved everybody. That guy's song was worth like $5 million.
He's got to be
why
the most famous banjo soloist in the world right now, probably. But yeah, so we saw what we saw. So presentation-wise was very strange, and it's probably, like you said earlier, the reason why they didn't really win the convention. But we saw a lot of The Last of Us Part 2, and that game looks amazing. We saw Spider-Man gameplay, Final Fantasy VII, And what else did we see? Shoot. I seem to have misplaced my list here, but... oh yeah, Neo 2. Death Stranding, obviously. So, saw gameplay from Death Stranding as well as a new trailer. Looks interesting, and you said that this gave you a lot more insight.
Yes, I have a lot of insight on this game now, as far as generally goes, but I think we're out of time because it's going to take me an hour to go through it.
We're not going to go through it now, but it did, it looked really, like, I appreciated seeing more. I've got a bit more of an idea of what was going on as well, and now the gameplay did show a lot of walking. Like, we're talking like Lord of the Rings, like Fellowship of the Ring levels of walking. So hopefully there's more to it than just walking. We didn't see any combat or anything like that. Of course, we know, like, we didn't see anything of the villain character that we saw in the earlier trailer, but
it's a running and hiding game. It's gonna be yeah, we have bots. Hey guys, we're really making it now. We have advertising
bots in our chat. We're now that's how you know you made it. By the way, I'm an idiot. I said Resident Evil 7 earlier. Resident Evil 2 remake. That's what I was referring to.
So, just quickly on that. So, I think I figured it out as far as everything but the combat goes, and I think that's fine because I think most people, most analysts have kind of figured it out thus far. But it's basically kind of like a Spirits Within meets kind of gameplay here, which I don't know if you're aware, but that movie did not do very well. However, that archetype of that kind of enemy is a pretty common Japanese lore. Is commonly found within Japanese lore, and is terrible. At the same time, it is very fascinating in the sense that you have an enemy that you can't see, that you can't hear, that you might be able to sense when they're close, that can destroy you in one single touch. It's like, how do you fight an enemy like that? And then what happens when, what happens in the conflict of that kind of thing. So it's basically, trans-dimensional beings that are, that have a partial physical effect on the physical world, but at the same time is like, they can't be seen or necessarily hurt by physical objects from this world without some like use of technology or something. And yeah, it's gonna be really interesting.
We also saw Ghost of Tsushima, which
it's a great game.
Again, looks fantastic. Samurai open world RPG style game. Looks absolutely gorgeous, and if there's anything that's going to make me buy a PS4 this year, that one probably will do it. That one took that and Last of Us Part 2. They both were the highlights of the Sony convention for me. And Death Stranding was interesting, but we still really don't know what the heck's going on in there. like you explained, we know a little more, but it's still kind of like what is going on?
Yeah, I have a really good concept of what about half of the game is going to be, and what the overarching story of the game is. Yeah. I get that point of it now, when as far as like going forward, what we're going to see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go into it much further later on, but let's just quickly power this through.
We've got a. Sorry, was there something else you want to talk about? Because I've got the outro music going. Because we've kind of got to wrap it up here.
We're done.
I mean, this has been. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing podcast. I absolutely love. I love seeing so much interaction in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for supporting this show. Thank you, especially to our Patreon supporters, Old Man Manson, and our 2 anonymous, wonderful, sexy supporters. Thank you so much for helping make this possible and our other projects that we're doing. Don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, we thank you for your follows and likes. On iTunes, thank you for subscribing and reviewing our show. And hey, feel free to join us on Saturdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Time. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the live show where you can interact with us and with other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Asheninity. On behalf of Cyberpsydian, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.